أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ربي زدني علما وألحقني بالصالحين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, guys. How are you all?
Fine, sir.
Okay. So today we'll have to start the new unit, and the new unit is all about the discovery of the telephone and the new connection in the home of Mr. Kamal, that what he was experiencing and how much they were excited to see the new what device in their home, and that was really a great pleasure for them all to see the telephone line or the telephone connection for the first time in their what in their home. As you can see, okay, this is a telephone set. This is the headset. This is the entire machine, and you can also see this is a telephone. This is a telephone. So this was their first experience with the telephone, and they were really excited and happy to use it, because in that time a telephone that was a privilege, that was a great honor, and somehow a great source of fashion and style. People used to be what? Used to show off when they were having a telephone connection in their houses. So we are now coming towards the difficult words or words to know. Words to know are emporium. Emporium means a large store with a wide section of goods. A large store or a department store or a supermarket you can call, where there you can have sections for different things and different what prices will be there, and somehow it will be a very wide and vast, okay, and it will be having a variety of goods, different sections and different things. And the next word is engineer. Engineer mean a person who knows how machine work and is able to fix. So engineer is a technical, okay, engineer over there, that he will do what? He will assess, he will repair, and he will fix the telephone or all these things.
साले हजरत साहब थोड़ी तकलीफ करके मुझे थर्सडे की अटेंडेंस भेज दीजिए, शुक्रिया।
And the next is handset. Handset is the part of the telephone that is held up to speak and listen. This part of the telephone is called handset. This is what this part of the telephone is called what? Handset. Okay, which we hold in our hand, and it will be having a mic and a speaker. The speaker is towards the ear, and the mic is over here to what? Closer to your mouth. And the next is prod. Prod means to poke somebody or something with a finger or other pointed object. Okay, to poke someone or to hit someone, you can, okay, you can call. And the next is when dead. When dead mean when any of machine, any of thing that stops working or the connection drops, that is called when dead. As the battery of our mobile phone, it what? It is dead, then nothing works. So now we are coming towards the first paragraph. Sorry, wrong number. Mr. Kamal was pleased. He had waited for a telephone connection for many months, and now at last he had one. The engineer the engineers arrived in the morning. They fitted a tiny box in the wall and connected a few cables to a tall pole outside the house. And what a lot of noise they made! What a lot of noise they made! But Mr. Kamal did not mind. He made the engineers cups of tea and helped them when he could. After the engineers had gone, Mr. Kamal sat and gazed lovingly at the smart new telephone in the hall. He could hardly wait to his wife and son to get home. Mr. Kamal picked up the phone and put it to his ear. Okay, put it to his ear. And hello, hello, he said. Yes, it's Kamal here. How nice of you to call. Yes, I can hear you quite clearly. Pardon, thank you. Mr. Kamal put down the handset and smiled, and he took out his handkerchief and did what? And polished until it glistened. When his wife and son Nadir came home, Mr. Kamal showed off the new telephone. The evening came, the telephone had remained silent, but that had not stopped the Kamals from picking it up whenever they passed by. Hello, they would say, and then carefully replace the handset. Later, when they were Later, when they were all sitting down to dinner, the phone rang. Brr, 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 went the telephone. All three of them jumped up and rushed to the telephone. Mr. Kamal cleared his throat and picked up the handset. Hello, Mr. Kamal here, he said slowly and clearly. This is Mrs. Asif, said a shrill voice on the other end of the line. Where are my clothes? I ordered them 3 days ago. They haven't arrived yet. I beg your pardon, said a shocked Mr. Kamal. Is that Fancy Goods Emporium? Asked the woman. No, I think you have the wrong number, madam, replied Mr. Kamal. Then the phone went dead. Mr. Kamal was very excited. He put down the handset and told his wife and son about the woman. You should have asked her for her number, said Mrs. Kamal. Then we could have given her a call sometime. The following morning, the phone rang again. This time, Mrs. Kamal got to it first. Hello, she said. Do you have any silk scarves? Asked the caller. Silk scarves? Asked Mrs. Kamal, puzzled. Yes, silk scarves, replied the caller. I don't think so, said Mrs. Kamal. Is that Fancy Goods Emporium? Asked the caller. No, this is Mrs. Kamal, said Mrs. Kamal, and the line went dead. A few minutes later, the phone rang again. We seem to have a popular number, said Mr. Kamal as he rushed to answer the phone. But this time, Nadir got there first. He held the phone to his ear but said nothing. From time to time, he shook his head vigorously from side to side. Say something, said his father, prodding him in the back. Okay? Nadir put the phone down. Who was it? Asked Mrs. Kamal. Some lady asking for Fancy Goods Emporium, replied Nadir. And then why didn't you say anything? Asked his father. The caller can't see you shaking your head. And that day there were 17 calls for the Fancy Emporium and not a single call for the Kamals. Mr. Kamal was quite fed up, and I shall have to ring the telephone company and complain, he grumbled. In the evening, just as they were going to have their dinner, the telephone rang again. Mr. Kamal got there first because Mrs. Kamal got there first because she was standing near the phone when it rang. Hello, said Mrs. Kamal. A tired man on the other end of the line asked, and what time does the film begin? I beg your pardon, said Mrs. Kamal. I think you have the wrong number. It began half an hour ago, said the man loudly. What a pity. No, no, this is not the cinema, said Mrs. Kamal. I don't know what time. Then the phone went dead. And what was that all about? Asked Mr. Kamal. Mrs. Kamal told Mr. Kamal and Nadir about the call. I can't understand it, she said, frowning. Why didn't the man listen to me? Mr. Kamal suddenly started chuckling. What's the joke? Asked another. Well, you see, said Mr. Kamal, the man's wife must have wanted to see the film, but the man did not. So he rang our number and pretended he was talking to the cinema, and his wife heard him speaking, but she could not hear what your mother was saying in reply. How clever! They all laughed at the joke, and I wish someone would call us and not a wrong number, said Nadir before he went to bed. So, boys, this was their first telephone and first day of and the first experience. Then on that day, nobody ever called them. Just the calls were coming for that shopping mall, for that emporium, and the calls were coming for the cinema, and they were quite fed off. But at the end, of the day, a man called their home, and maybe he was just to deceive his wife for the tickets of the cinema, and then all of the family they laughed at the joke, and then Nader he expressed his feelings, and he wished that maybe if someone called us not the wrong number. So that is the entire story of the telephone line they when it was for the first time in their home, so they were really excited, and they were so much happy to see all these things, or to see a telephone. That is why they were time and again picking it up. Okay, when they went by it, they used to pick up the handset, and same was the case that For the first time when the call came, Mr. Kamal received it, then Mrs. Kamal, then Nadir. So one by one, they used to come to the phone and they tried to receive it. So boys, start reading. Who will read? Who will read? Yes. Muhammad Ibrahim, start reading.
Uh, okay, sir.
Muhammad Ibrahim.
Kamal was pleased. He had waited for a telephone connection for many months, and now at last he had one. The engineers arrived in the morning. They fitted a tiny black box in the wall and connected a few cables to a tall pole outside the house.
Please read
The
louder,
noise they
man. Read
made
louder. Okay?
but the
Louder.
but a lot of noise they made, but Mr. Kamal did not mind. He made the engineers cup of tea and helped them when he could. After the engineers had gone, Mr. Kamal sat and gazed lovingly at the smart new telephone in the hall. He could hardly wait for his wife and son to get home. Mr. Kamal picked up the telephone and looked it to his ear.
Please read louder.
Hello, hello, he said. Yes, it's Kamal here. How nice of you to call. Yes, I can hear you quite clearly. Pardon. Thank you. Mr. Kamal put down the headset and smiled. He took out his handkerchief and polished until it glistened. When his wife and son Nadir came home, Mr. Kamal showed off the new telephone. The evening they came, the telephone had remained silent, but that had not stopped the Kamals from picking it up whenever they passed by. Hello, they would say, and then gravely taste the handset. Later, when they were all sitting to dinner, the phone rang burr, 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 burr. When the telephone, all
Please
three,
read louder, read louder.
all
Okay,
three
come
of
closer
them.
to the mic. Come closer to the mic.
Yes, sir. Hmm.
Okay, the
All
next boy
three
should read, please. Next boy, Muhammad Rayan. Rayan, start reading.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All three of them jumped up and rushed to the phone. Mr. Kamal cleared his throat and picked up the handset. Hello, Mr. Kamal here, he said slowly and clearly. This is Mrs. Arif, said a shrill voice on the other end of the line. Where are my clothes? I ordered them 3 days ago. They haven't arrived yet. I beg your pardon, said a shocked Mr. Kamal. Is that fancy goods emporium? Asked the woman. No, I think you have the wrong number, madam, replied Mr. Kamal. The, then the phone went dead. Mr. Kamal was very excited. He put down the handset and told his wife and son about the woman. You should have asked for you should have asked her for her number, said Mrs. Kamal. Then we could have given her a call sometime.
Time. Yes.
The following morning, the phone rang again. This time, Mrs. Kamal got to it first. Hello, she said. Do you have any slick scarves? Slick
Come
scarves?
closer to the mic. Come closer to the mic.
Silver slick scarves? Do you have any slick scarves? Asked the caller. Slick
Where are you, Mr. Rayan? Rayan, where are you?
Sir, I'm here.
Okay, so the next boy should start reading. Muhammad, okay, Abu Bakr Mia, you can start reading.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Yeah, start reading.
Yes,
Start
we
reading, man.
will Calf replied the caller. I don't think so, sighed Mrs. Kamal. Is that fancy goods emporium? Emporium asked the caller. No, this is Mrs. Kamal, sighed is Mrs. Kamal, and the line went dead. A few minutes later, the phone rang again. We seem to have a popular number, said, said
Popu- pop, popular number, okay, famous.
famous number. Mrs. Kamal, Mrs. Kamal, as he issued to answer the phone, but this time Nadir got there first. He held the phone to his ear, but said nothing. From time to time, he,
He
he
shook
shook
his head vigorously.
he shook his head restlessly from side to side. Say something, said his father, pro- pro- prodding him in the back. Nadir put the phone down. Who was it? Asked Mrs. Kamal. Some lady asking for fancy goods emporium, replied Nadir. Then why didn't you didn't you say anything? Asked his father. The color the color can't see you
Caller can't see you shaking your head.
yeah, checking your head. That day
Okay,
there
thank you
were
so much for staying with me, and this was a nice experience. Tomorrow we will read it, okay? Have a good day. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz, sir. Allah Hafiz, sir. Allah Hafiz, sir.
Allah Hafiz.